to our follow-up forum. It's really exciting. I'm wondering why we can't see anybody else. Is it because it's set to a webinar? Right? Yeah.
Is there something that we can switch so we can see everyone?
Yeah, let's, hey, Kelsey, is it possible to switch it so we can actually just see everyone? Everyone can join? I know we can't hear you, but maybe, here we go. She's working on it. Okay, great. So guys, we're gonna hope to be able to get everyone, everyone visibly, let's see here. I think we can allow everyone to talk, but I'm hoping we can get everyone to get on video. I think we might also, Kelsey, be able to promote them to panelists, thereby letting them kind of also show their videos. Let's go ahead and try to do that. Maybe. All right, here we go. Everybody is coming on. Hey guys, if you wouldn't mind turning on your videos and showing us your beautiful faces, that would be wonderful. Here we go. Hi. How's it going?
How are you?
Doing all right. I have some allergies, I think. So there might be a lot of like kind of stuff going on. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. A good start to your week?
No complaints here.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Nick, how are you doing?
Yeah, fine. Doing fine.
Awesome. Very cool. So, so guys, this is the, ultimately super casual kind of follow-up forum to our webinar. Before, when we went over kind of content planning and, how to be looking at your marketing strategy, more specifically for Q4, but, in general. And so during that webinar and the follow-up, we had sent out a template that went over kind of all the different ways in which we do content planning. Today is really supposed to be kind of a working session where we're able to collaborate and kind of work with each other to help build and fill these out. And ultimately, I think to provide guidance to each other and kind of support each other as we're looking to build it out. So while while Francesca and I are hosting and facilitating, it's really kind of intended for us to have hopefully some good deliverables that come out of it for you guys. So you guys walk away with something that actually you can use tomorrow, right? Or use next week as you're kind of building stuff out. So that's kind of the intent behind that. Do all of you guys have either Excel sheet or a way of doing content planning or the template? I mean, we don't have to use a template that we put together. It's just really kind of a guideline in terms of the things to be considering. But have you guys all had a chance to put something together or take a look at it, or where is everyone at? Like, can we get a quick temperature check?
Yeah, so for us, I saw the template and I had a quick look at the one that got sent out this week. We don't have all of our mediums in one place. We put all of our digital marketing in one place. And so we really have two stages of how we do our planning. One is a spreadsheet. So if I go back one level, we start with our marketing plan, which has everything. It has our strategy, our branding, all of our different mediums, our audiences, et cetera, et cetera. Then from a communication point of view, we have a spreadsheet where we plan out for our different audiences, our different messages and our different channels, right? So we might have food, or we might have events, or we might have community stuff we're pushing out. We link them all in and plan them out over a rolling 30-day period across which medium we want to use, right? So for some of our messaging, it might be digital and social media. Some of it might be a newsletter. Some of it might be in store, whatever it is. So that's kind of our starting point, which is linking the marketing plan into our, and our strategy into our planning and how we want to do it. And then our final step is that we use a scheduling app for our digital and social media. And we load in our pictures, our copy, tags and hashtags. And so that's all planned out visually We
What
don't do the
platform
visual.
do
In
you
it.
use?
I don't know. Don't remember. Give me 1 second.
I think Nick told me yesterday and I can't
Later.
remember either. Later.
Later. Yeah. So we just swapped over to that one a couple of months ago. So we were using another one, and then I think it was a scheme that the app and the people just disappeared from one day to the next. So, but yeah, we're using Later. So that helps. It has obviously tools and features in it that help with like what time of the day is best to post, who's your target audience, what time should you post, what hashtags do you recommend, and then you can do analytics on, how those hashtags are working, how they're not working, suggestions, and some analytics sort of stuff that we use as well.
In the timeline
Yep.
Nick, for right now, like, have you planned out how far in advance are you planning, I guess? So you planned out
rolling
Q4,
30 days.
by month?
Yeah, rolling 30 days. And we do about 75% of our content is planned, and then we leave 25% of it for things that happen. So open spots for, we just decided last week we're going to have a live music series starting this Friday. So that will take those vacant slots. And so that's things like that. We leave a little bit open. Yeah.
And for content production, how do you manage your production of content? Are you guys doing, how often are you planning, like, shoots of like inside or out? Like what does your content production schedule look like?
So that's really the major. So historically what we used to do was just take photos when we thought we need them. So we do a new menu, we take a bunch of photos. With this planning, what it does is it leads to really thinking about and planning out what shots and what assets we need and what we don't have, which then plans out the work we need. So if I want to post something 3 weeks from now, it's in the plan. And then we say, okay, well, I need a photo. We're doing at the moment, for example, community stuff, right? So we're partnering with local businesses around the Gables, and we're sharing their content on our platform and the story behind the business. So we plan that out. Now we need to go, hey, we need you to go and take a photo with the owner of that business, and that business, and we need you to write the copy. And then one of us goes and does it. So it helps us plan out our photos. If it's food, we're like, hey, we're going to do it on Thursday. We need to take photos of all of our food. The chef cooks it, we stage it, we photograph it. And then we just have all of that on a shared drive that we can access and draw on and reuse as we need to in the future. So that planning is what drives, do we have everything, or do we still need photos or copy or whatever? And then we produce it before we need to post.
Awesome. And then as far as like doing your analysis of the performance of it, how do you take your analysis and take that forward to the following months of planning?
Yeah, so in our sheets, we have, it depends on the purpose of what the communication is. So some of the communication stuff is brand building. Some of it, I think it was 11,000 followers. That was the threshold on Instagram to get access to additional features. So we had a period where we were posting solely with the purpose of trying to get additional followers so we could tick over that amount. So other times where it's not, like, we're a restaurant. So really, we talk about this all the time. We're not really trying to become Instagram famous. We're trying to turn people and communicate with people who are going to come in and want to come in or live in the area or will visit when they're traveling or whatever. And so a lot of our stuff actually has calls to action on it, or it might have a discount code, or we might do something for a certain day that we can track it through our POS system. Mm-hmm. So depending on what message we're communicating, if possible, we always try to have it can be either very extensive, it's often very small, but we have a little SMART goal sheet that we always run through with everything that we do. And when you start doing that, the first thing we always realize with a lot of our marketing efforts is we actually can't measure if they're working or not. And so it's helped us really start focusing on, hang on, no, this won't work because we're going to have no idea if it works or not. So then we need to, and it might be, sometimes it's staff training, like it's as simple as asking a question in our step of service. So how did you hear about us? And then our server tracks that, right? So if it came from the post, the servers on a weekly basis will report it back, and then we can see how many people came in because they saw a post or a promo or a partnership or whatever we did. And so we really just try to come up with ways. If we're doing things to encourage people to come in, but we have no idea of realizing if it worked or if it didn't, it makes it really, really hard to adjust and get better at it. And likewise, with us, what it actually has done is we spend less time on social media than what we otherwise would, right? So we found we got into the habit where you just posting stuff all the time because you have to, but it wasn't really resulting in anything, or not enough to make it justify somebody spending 40 hours a week on it. And so now we just tweak it and we use our different mediums and try to measure it better. We do have a core amount that's brand building though, which is a little bit different.
Interesting. So like, just to kind of pull the thread even deeper, like, part of our workshop before was kind of talking about, leveraging one piece of content, let's say in many different ways. And you're kind of
Right.
already starting to speak to that. So as far as like taking, let's say in content planning, as you are putting together one asset, right? Or one kind of
Campaign or whatever.
or type of communication piece. What are, can you give us an example of kind of how you might pull the thread on communicating that particular piece of content, maybe on some different platforms, or kind of how do you take one thing, right? And how do you turn it into 5 things?
Yeah, so for us, it depends on what it is. So a lot of our social media stuff, a lot of the content that ends up on social media is not really campaign stuff. So some of it is just refreshing, right? So we'll put coffee or avocado toast or food and things, and they'll regularly be floating through our social media. When we're doing something that's a little longer term, like an event, leading into an event, we may use the same or a simplified version of a digital asset. It might be a photo, or it might be a graphic design thing. And that might lead really, really early on our newsletter, way before we start promoting it on social media. But it's the same content, or it's a slightly different format of the same thing. The copy for one, the newsletter is obviously generally for us, it's more. But a simplified version of that is always the same. The same key messaging is then what we use in our social media. So we try to reuse stuff as much as we can. But for us, it really depends on whether something's more of a campaign or just content and filling or messaging.
Got it. And
like we've always had a really big following on social media, but we never did a good job of capturing emails. And so we never really did email communication until about, 6 or 9 months ago. And the reason we really started focusing on it is because we have quite long-term, really loyal, supportive customers. And we would do something new and then they would find out about it. Like we'd open a new restaurant and they'd find out about it 2 months later. They go, oh, I wish we knew. We really would have come in if we had have known. We're like, well, we're on social media. We post about it all the time. Yeah, I'm not really on social media, or I'm not on it at the times that we're posting or whatever. So we started doing a lot of in-store. So for our loyal customers that are always coming in, then they see it. So we have stuff on the tabletops. And then email was the other big one. So particularly working professionals, they're not spending all day on social media. And so the email was a little bit more successful for that customer base. And so for us, it's really just also identifying your audience and then where they're most receptive, and then what message are you pushing out to which audience, and then what platform is going to make the most sense. And then we generally put a little bit more time into that one versus something else.
Got it. Okay. Very helpful, Nick. So Valerie, Claudia, the rest of you guys, did you catch all that?
It's really impressive everything that Nick does, with the business.
I try.
Claudia, as you're doing your content planning and kind of as you're, posting and working on different platforms, are you using kind of any of the same strategies that Nick has been talking to us about, or how are you kind of approaching it from that perspective?
Well, I kind of agree with Nick on the social media portion. I was kind of distracted because I'm in the other restaurant right now and have people coming in and out. But so I used the social media grant for the Coral Gables this past 3 months, and I actually drove some customers. So I try my best to always ask, how do you hear from us? So last time we have a big table and they came because of Facebook.
Wow.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
They were happy. I was asking because I was running 2 campaigns at the same time. One was the Coral Gables grant, and the other one was a TV commercial during a news very well known among Hispanic Jaime Bailey program, but was not the live Jaime Bailey programming. It was the one that repeats itself at 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. So I also got people coming in for watching that. The problem with that is that they will probably won't come back, or they will just come back once every year. It's not, they will not be returning customers, you know, which at the end is our final goal. At least the ones
Which ones won't be returning customers? The ones
Actually,
from the
both.
TV?
Actually, well, we received like 2 tables from the TV commercial, and so far that I know, 2 tables from Facebook, you know. I don't think they will like become recurring customers, to be honest, you know,
How,
because
what makes you think that? Was it like their experience or?
for the TV commercial, both of the tables were a disaster. They were complaining since they came into the restaurant, because my husband is there by himself, usually during weekdays. They came during weekdays, so weekdays is very slow in our restaurant. And he's by himself, so, and he knew from the beginning that that was going to be a problem. So, and they did, and they wrote horrible reviews, and we kind of really accustomed to that. And the first thing that one of them, the first thing that they put is like, so we came, and then there was nobody at the restaurant. Like it was like a pity thing to come in the restaurant because nobody was there. That's exactly what he wrote at the beginning of his review. And so from that on, everything, and the bottom line is that everything is, they cannot afford our menu. It's not a fit. That's the bottom line. At the end, they always say it's not worthy the price, or it's too expensive for the price. So the bottom line is that it's not our ideal customer. They cannot afford it, period, you know, and it's not. And then they were uneducated people, you know. So sadly, but that was the case of those 2 tables that arrived from the TV commercial, which was not the case when we did the commercial on the actual live programming, which is prime time at 9:30 p.m. Those, when we did those, it worked amazing. We were getting people up to from Palm Beach, from West Palm Beach, coming to try the signature dish, and but then they increased the price, and we cannot afford that. So we probably won't do it again. And the Facebook, so it's the same. It's people that love Spain, or they know about Spain, or they feel they are from Spain, but actually they are not. And then when they see the menu, when they see the menu, it's like the price is not what they can pay, you know.
Interesting.
So
So you're thinking it's like there's like a disconnect between price and the experience of.
yeah, the bottom line is price, you know. And you know, they came to they come to celebrate birthdays, so you know they won't come back because it's just a special occasion that they are willing to, you know, spend more money than a regular day to just have a good dinner.
Okay.
You know, that's what it is. So, but I think I maybe can fix that, and then I need your input on that, at least on Facebook, because I was, you know, playing with the features that it has. Like, I just directed my advertising for people 55 years old and older, which is our ideal, you know, customer, and just 10 miles around the restaurant. But I think next time I will put the household income feature as well.
Yeah, I think adding some qualifiers and targeting and things like that will.
Yeah, so that's what I probably will add next time I run my social media.
Yep.
Because
Buddy, do you think you could go younger in the age if you upped the household income? Because
maybe that could be a good idea.
a lot of young people do dine out, you know, and spend a lot of money on food.
That I may do that, you know, like balance probably attract a new group of different, you know, age range, but higher income. So
Yeah,
I didn't include that in the last in the September campaign. So, but then so right now we're not doing live shows. My husband doesn't want to do that because we're at 50% capacity, and the restaurant is not even full at 50% capacity. So we'll just
We'll keep experimenting, you know. I think that but I think definitely looking at interest groups and how, the income levels that you're kind of matching to, I think would be, is also important, I think, to consider. I'd love for us to kind of, so good work on getting these ads to convert to tables. I'm sorry that they weren't the ideal customers, but I do think that the conversion on your ads, in my mind, what that would lead to is either targeting, but also the content itself. So making sure that the content that you're pushing out there is kind of giving a premium look and experience, just to make sure that people understand that they're getting a premium experience when they come in. And then obviously targeting, I think, is important.
I do want to point out that I use the same TV commercial on Facebook. I try picture, then I try carousel, and then the video, which draw a lot of attention. I had like more than 10,000 views in Facebook with that TV commercial. And but I think it has potential if I just refine more to the household income, to some interest, and what Francesca just told me.
It's all iteration. Yeah, I mean, it's all iterating and testing, and like Nick mentioned earlier, even with just organic social, it's seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then making adjustments and continuing to move down that path. So on that note, thank you, Claudia. I'd love to kind of open this up to Valerie. Valerie, I know that you offered to kind of be our our example in terms of how we're going to work through kind of, content planning and, kind of be more collaborative. I think you've got a good team of people here between Claudia, Nick, and everyone else on the line, especially Francesca and myself, to kind of help. So think of this as kind of a group collaboration on kind of content planning. But could you tell us, just to start off, a little bit about your business and kind of like, more about what you've been doing so far for content planning, what's been going on in terms of your social? Give us a little bit of a rundown.
So I really didn't have, let me start off, I guess, by saying I'm a realtor. So I'm not a restaurant. I don't have that retail space. I'm a little different than most of the people that are probably looking at this. And going into it, as I had told Francesca when she told me initially about the seminar, I was skeptical. And so I said to myself, let me just sign up and see if I can pull out one thing out of this seminar. And I'm at this point, I'm sold. I really like that template. It put me on the right path to have a plan, because up until now, I was sort of just putting whatever worked at that moment. And I didn't like the fact that I didn't have a plan. So it helped really organize myself for my next upcoming months. So with that being said, I sort of jumped full 2 feet into it, and went and got the Instagram. I had Facebook. I was sort of not really inclined on going on Instagram, but I'm like, okay, what the heck? And I went ahead and opened up accounts on everything. And so I try to keep everything based on what that social media platform is used for. So Instagram to me is very artistic. So I'm trying to keep more artistic pictures. I haven't gone into video yet, but I think video does do a lot better than just individual pictures of random things. I try to keep, like on LinkedIn, something a little more professional. Facebook, I guess, can go either way. You can sort of incorporate the two. One of the things when I sent over your template to our broker's social media person, she loved it, and she said, we're going to try to pull, and this is one thing that Nick mentioned about emails, that she's going to try to do is basically we went ahead and got some Facebook ads, and through those Facebook ads they sign up for leads, or they can sign up for leads, so it means they want information. And then at that point she decided to do text using a program called Textedly, which I had not heard of, but now I'm sure everybody's starting to get, the random texts on from people. And it out of 20 that she sent out, only 3 unsubscribed. So that may be another way to target a certain market, a certain demographic. And it also, you know, all your content is based, in my opinion, you know, on the demographic that you're trying to target. Social media, obviously, to some degree, is probably going to target a younger market than an older market. And depending on what you are putting on there, it's going to please and appeal to that group, that demographic.
Sure, absolutely. So from your perspective, I guess then, as you're kind of working through the template, do you, would you like to screen share and show us?
I haven't gone through it yet, so.
Okay.
So no, I haven't
in that
actually
case,
formally done it.
would it be most helpful to kind of have me screen share and have us kind of do some content mapping of what you're planning on? Or is it better for us to kind of, you know, with the spirit of this being, you know, let's get something out of this conversation and collectively drive some you know, deliverable, if you will. Would it be best to kind of talk through some of your content ideas and kind of what you're thinking, or would it be best to kind of pop up in the template and start to fill some stuff out?
Whatever you'd prefer. I have the template actually right in front of me as well, just in case you were asking. And I'm going to have to adjust some things to make it obviously fit for real estate.
Yeah.
We do, again, in real estate, I think we have a little bit of a broader appeal. So we can do the artistic things. We can show a picture of a house. We can show ourselves. We can add a personalization of us. So there's everything from, oh, hey, what a pretty, I don't know, photograph in a home, all the way to let's do some statistics on what's going on in that community.
Interesting. So as you're kind of looking at content mapping, you have, similar to Nick, a lot of different touch points of things that you can be promoting and talking about. Okay, so in that case, let's go ahead and do a share screen. I'm going to pop open my screen so we can kind of start to fill this out. And then Valerie, I won't leave you hanging. I'll send this to you when we're done so that you, so that you've got a, okay, let's see here.
Syama, to what Valerie's talking about, I think actually goes to everyone. I mean, a lot of that's lifestyle, right? That you're talking about is from the artistic point of view, and retailers and restaurants can certainly share that as well. Of course, we know, Nick, you guys do a big highlight of customers that come in, which is pretty cool that you guys do that. But also, now that you're saying you're sharing your community information, that kind of helps build the lifestyle too. So I think with content planning, it's kind of picking the days you do that, right? So like maybe you do your community share on Fridays, or you do your artistic view, like your, you know, it's a Monday motivation kind of picture that you're doing just a beautiful shot of, you know, obviously Valerie, you focus on Coral Gables, like things like that. I think that's almost like something that other groups can bring into their content too. It doesn't always have to be product, or menu item, like to kind of build who the restaurant is, who the brand is outside of the actual assortment that they sell.
It's much more successful doing that too.
Yeah.
And so it does two things. One, if you're only doing product, and so for us, that's food and beverages, you run out of content really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we change our menu pretty frequently, but even with that, we run out of content super, super, super fast. And you're forever taking photos, or you end up reposting customer stuff. When you expand it, it really helps you with content, because you can get content from all different places. You see that as well with bloggers and things too. You know, like the more successful bloggers, you'll see them just posting memes and nonsense half of the time because they just run out of content. You know, you can't go out and eat at a restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner when you're a huge, huge thing. But the other thing that it does as well is it makes your feed significantly more interesting, and people can connect with it, which gets you a more loyal customer base. You know, if we're just posting food and coffee, great. But, you know, if you're posting about the staff or something that's happening or whatever, it becomes much more interesting. So
I think to touch upon what Nick's saying, and I agree, the minute that you introduce an element of a personal element, meaning, or even just a person being in that shot or in that video, I noticed hands down, I will get more likes or more views than if I'm just doing something plain. Or if in the case of Nick with food, if the food is doing something, if there's an animation there, people seem to respond more, I would say, to that.
Interesting.
And I think another thing with it as well is it can show, to the points earlier where you have, you market, you actually achieve your goal where people respond to the marketing and they come in. And then before you even start, you have a mismatch in expectations, which means you don't deliver and you end up with a bad experience. I think that also you can do a little bit of that through telling that story is where that stuff comes in. So people can see whether this is the right place for them. And you can kind of say ahead of time, this is the type of people that should come. And we don't do it as much as we should, but a little bit of behind the scenes stuff in terms of, like when we're sampling new menus and coming up with ideas and, that kind of stuff also we've found in the past when we've done it really, really helps and is successful, and it's interesting and it's easy content for us.
Cool. So for you, Valerie, in terms of images, I'm kind of starting to map out here some of the content needs. From an asset standpoint, you mentioned homes, brokers, people. So like in terms of, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In terms of how you kind of showcase or leverage that on your feed or kind of would approach showing people, right? What does that look like for your business?
It could be anything. Like I was standing on a balcony. I mean, that was my last post yesterday, as I'm showing a property and the person's going through the property, and I'm
images
just
of you,
images of me, images of people who are assisting me, like a mortgage broker, the buyer, the seller, anything that is also, again, like I keep on saying, animated, because I think that's what people are looking for, based again on that response. And it's all sort of this trial and error for me, because I am really starting to do this with more fervor than I had in the past. But it's fascinating to see what people respond to. And so I sort of use it not only just for a response, but I use it for a level of also credibility. So when people end up seeing me, for example, at an open house, and I have a good dialogue with them, and especially now with COVID, where I'm limited to the amount of time I'm in front of someone because people don't want to stay there longer than they have to, and it's uncomfortable with the mask and the whole 9 yards. You feel like if once you give them some information, they're probably going to pick on their favorite social media platform to go look you up. And that also is going to help connect with those people. So it's not just to bring them in, but it's an element of credibility that you get with them.
Got it.
Valerie, I know you're super new to Instagram. Have you started communicating via the chat function with potential clients and with other?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm going to start actually doing opens by the video, like the TV, I think it's called. It's like IGTV, is that it?
Yep.
I'm just terrified to get on there and then realize that I can't back up something I say. So I'm hesitant, but I've been limited right now to just pictures and simple video.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so we've got texting platforms, Instagram. What are the other platforms that you're using?
LinkedIn. And it's a much more, again, I try to keep it very, on LinkedIn, people are expecting a little bit more professionalism. I wouldn't necessarily put what I put on Instagram on LinkedIn. Maybe I can cross platform by, if it's a nice picture, maybe on LinkedIn, I'll use, my new best friend is Canva. So you go on Canva, you upload the photo, and put some statistics maybe on LinkedIn. Or I'll do a motivational quote, something a little more professional than I would do on an Instagram. Those have been, and then also YouTube. Upload any of the videos that we do of the properties on YouTube.
Okay, got it. Did I miss
And
any?
I draw the line at those. I am not using TikTok.
And you're also not using Facebook.
Hmm. I am. I was the most familiar with Facebook. So I have a Facebook page.
Okay. So texting, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay. Formats, GIFs, videos, static images, anything else?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Content needs. So we have motivational quotes, lots of different images. We also have, it seems like, videos of the above. Is there anything else in terms of your content that you have access to or plan on developing? Meaning, have you thought about doing any sort of short video series of you speaking about,
Yes.
home ownership or how to sell your home? So is there any sort of content series that you've planned or will be planning for?
We will be planning for it, and basically, video for, like you said, maybe who to talk to and how the process of a home buying is, or the process of home selling, or little excerpts where it shouldn't be too lengthy. Do it in location, like by a pool somewhere, a pretty home, showcasing that. So yeah.
So these how-to videos, I imagine, would get you quite a bit of visibility and traction. Like people love these how-to videos. I think in terms of, kind of planning out, and then I guess the next, which is really cool. I think you should really consider developing that now. I think that could be really, really helpful. What about key dates? So between now and the end of this year, or even just for the next month, what are the key dates that you guys are planning for internally?
Is that directed to me?
Correct.
Okay, so for me, any holiday, obviously, you have a tendency of focusing on that, maybe tying it in again to what my business is, homes. So that's sort of like the most basic that you can make sure that you have for your social media. Other than that, I haven't really come up with, again, maybe statistics. That's a huge thing. People like to see statistics on homes in their neighborhood. So it's not as exciting, but it is good content. And you can also do statistics here and just do a simple page. You can also do statistics talking about it for a minute. So it's going to appeal to different people and you're getting the same information across.
Cool. And then as far as other key dates, are there any holidays or things that are important in real estate? Or like, for example, is there a time period where more people, or statistically more people are selling their homes at this point in time, or more people are buying?
So there are things like homestead exemption here in our state where people need to sign up for that to take effect, and you sort of remind them, send them out an email, especially the people that you've worked with in the past year, just to make sure that they have renewed their homestead exemption if they just bought a home.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as dates are concerned, I mean, I think that's really it. We don't have a lot of time sensitive unless you're in a transaction. That's a different story, and that's more personal. It's not something that you can really, other than doing a how-to, it's not really like you can do.
Cool. Okay, awesome. The reason I'm asking is because these are all kind of different. It's almost like we're playing Tetris, right? So it's like all these different potential combinations of, content, platform, format, right? And then like the dates and all of those things kind of come into play as we jigsaw the calendar together, right? And kind of recreate the calendar. So as we look at let's say key dates and events, right? We kind of have the national holidays plus your homestead exemption. you know, these assets like sales promotions, obviously this becomes less necessary for you. Collateral and presentations. So how often are you guys producing, or how often are you producing new assets that might drop during, you know, let's say any sort of release schedule? Are there any presentations or new kind of home ownership collateral from a design standpoint that you put together?
So I guess everything is based on the minute that you have a new listing, that's when the clock starts ticking for certain things to do. That's when you can drop the video. That's when you can, and you have a timeline. And there is, again, through that, a sort of process of open houses, process of, even if you're at an inspection for a home or the home is being photographed, you can also talk about all of that, showing that you're active and doing work. So people can see that you are active in the business with just that one property that you list, or you buy, or you're working with a buyer. Same thing. If you're going to different homes all day long, you're showing, I don't know, 5 or 6 homes to a potential buyer, you're going in and out of homes. I sometimes will ask, hey, can I take a picture of this? Or can I take a little video of that? And for the most part, the listing agent will give you the permission to do it, and you go ahead and upload. And I'm noticing also that as you're getting in certain age demographics, they find this sort of not really that important. So they'll let you take video of anything because they think we're playing. So yeah, it is. It really is interesting. So we have access to a lot more if you start paying attention, and you sort of don't necessarily do it in live. You accumulate all of this information, and then you can sort through it as your week or month progresses.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So as far as the other kind of quote unquote launches that we'd be planning for, so there's the new home listing, there's the buying process. So by launch, I kind of mean like the campaign, right? Launch / like campaign. What do you guys produce any sort of quarterly reports on like the housing market that has any sort of like release date? You know, I just got an email from a girlfriend of mine, and it was like, oh, it was about like Manhattan real estate. And it was like, here's our quarterly, you know, report on what happened with real estate in the last 3 months. Do you have any sort of assets like that you push out at all?
So before, a lot of this was done by snail mail. You would do the postcards, and now everything's getting done through social media. So yeah, absolutely. And if you have a schedule, it's almost as people will expect to see it. And that's the beautiful part about the template, because you can go ahead and fill in and be very accurate as to, okay, on this day, we're doing this, have it ready, plug it in, and almost have, I think people, especially now with COVID and everything going on in the world, they're looking for something very predictable. And if you can bring that to them, even through something as basic as the numbers on our real estate, I think that people are looking for it and they will recognize it. And I don't necessarily think that people should change so much their coloring or their, you know, everyone's looking to do something different. I believe that when they can recognize that those particular colors on a campaign, or that particular font on a campaign is yours, every single thing that you post, it looks like they can just identify it by seeing it, even if the content is a little different. I think it's very important. I don't think we need to be that crazy with, at least I don't need to be that crazy with trying to come up with different looking features on every single post that I do.
Got it. Yeah, of course. Okay, cool. So this, I think, is and as far as like these kinds of statistics, do they come out quarterly for you? Is it more frequently? Like
it's whatever you look. I mean, it's whatever you look at. Yeah, you can do it quarterly. You could do it monthly. There isn't as much of a season here. You don't get the snowbirds, so we don't have that sort of seasonal in my business.
Okay.
Maybe schooling, and even that with this past year changed. People weren't moving before the school year, more so because nobody's kid is in school. So it's been so much where we're sort of out of a traditional expectation of timing.
Okay, got it. So as far as, okay, got it. So this is really, okay, great. So as far as how we're looking at this kind of planning process, as we're kind of listing it out at this point, is this helpful as far as how you're starting to organize this type of content?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, it's
Because the
it's
next
been
step
extremely
then,
helpful.
the next step, kind of once I send this back out, is going to be to really go through here, right? And start to, as you mentioned, kind of clean up what the assets, like what the placements are of this, right? And then now the next step off of this document would be to say, okay, how do I further build these things out, right? How do I further build out the images of home? How do I build out that bank of images on a Dropbox? The images of brokers, of staff. A lot of this becomes like production, right? Let's plan out the production. Let's figure out where we want to, feature this content, what type of format is going to be best for it, what are some key dates that we're going to release it, and then how do we layer in these other kind of more campaign-like feelings. And when I say feelings like a campaign, I mean more specifically like, the new home listing, there becomes a format, right? So all of a sudden it's like when you start a campaign of a new home listing, it might be like, we're going to launch with a video followed by a interview with the seller, like a video of the home, followed by a video with an interview with the seller, followed by, an image of this process and that process. And all of a sudden you're kind of building out against these launches, these particular campaigns, right? So this is kind of the flow of which you're going to be now applying to this sample calendar.
One question, Valerie, with your content needs that you're looking at here, are you thinking beyond sharing just pictures of what your listings and such are, and maybe doing things that link into your national holidays? Let's say like we have Halloween coming up, we have Thanksgiving coming up, and doing putting like either decorating like beautiful homes for fall, or beautiful homes that have interesting Halloween decorations? Or have you thought about kind of creating that kind of content to pepper in between it, so it just has that more lifestyle feel in there? Or what are you guys,
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
That's interesting, Francesca, because we were actually discussing yesterday how we can do like different people's decoration and doors, and doing something where which door is your favorite, which room is your favorite, which whatever is your favorite. And this way there's an interaction, and you're asking somebody to, you're bringing somebody into it. So yes, I think it can be helpful. We haven't done it yet, but yeah, that was one of the aspects that we were thinking of starting to do and tying it in with holidays.
Yeah, and those, any of those questions I think are great, because something that creates a little bit of engagement where people can answer, and you kind of keep their attention a little bit longer.
Another thing that comes to mind is testimonials. I think it's great to get testimonials or reviews. If you get a great review, post it.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Valerie, for being so open and willing to talk about your business. I wanted to kind of close up our conversation and kind of see if Jill would be willing to talk to us a little bit about her business and kind of how she's approaching content management. Valerie, I will send this over to you so you can kind of continue to take it forward. But thank you for opening the doors to what's happening behind the scenes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. Jill, are you still here? Did I lose you?
She told me she might have a vendor come in while she was in our meeting, so that might have been what happened. But I can talk on her behalf and say how wonderfully she's doing business through Instagram, because I saw something on Instagram and messaged her, and have subsequently bought a pair of earrings for my niece's 13th birthday and a couple of weeks. So it just shows you do when you put in the time on Instagram, people will buy that way. I mean, obviously I think we've established in the forum kind of a super shopper, but at the same time, it's a nice way to do business, and it has a very personal feel because she's taking pictures of different things in the store and sending them that way. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I mean, I think that it's I think what's interesting is a lot of the stuff that we went over with you, Valerie, is highly applicable, this kind of format and way of looking at parsing out the platform, parsing out the kind of content. I mean, I think it really adds this different layer of depth to what we otherwise will think about as just like, hey, I need to post something, right? What am I going to post? Or I feel like I need to say something, what am I going to say? And that kind of depth of like, these are the things that we are going to be pushing out. I would say the last piece of it is, as you're implementing this, the thing that I think is super important is to realize that your content needs may shift and change over time. So it's possible that, you kind of test out this particular strategy of content needs, which obviously, and we haven't really discussed this, which there's a budget to that, right? I mean, it costs money to produce the content, especially if it's really good content, right? Producing a high quality video, editing it, producing, high quality photography, retouching. If you are great on camera, you maybe don't have to take the time to map out what you're going to say. But if you're speaking to statistics that are changing, right, you're going to have to spend some time kind of prepping for the production of the content, and then the editing of the content, and then the posting, and then analysis of it. And so I think that there's kind of a life cycle to content planning and a life cycle to the communication strategy that once you kind of get on the hamster wheel of doing it, right, it's like, not only do you have a lot more control and foresight and you can plan a lot better, but it's also its own system, right? It's like, if all of a sudden you have to kind of keep the momentum moving. Francesca, I know that you've spent, a lot of years kind of behind the scenes, really leading a lot of communications for so many incredible businesses. As far as like maintaining, the production of, it's not simply, hey, here's what we're going to say, but there's so much that goes into it. How far in advance do you think it's appropriate, right? If we're planning out content, let's say 30 days in advance, to take the time to kind of shoot and plan for all of it. Do you think 30 days is enough?
Well, that is that probably not. No, I mean, honestly, I'll tell you, you think a month is a lot of time, but by the time you develop those assets and you start loading them up and you've laid out your posts, it can get a little tight. And I don't want to scare people off by saying you need to be working like 3 months out. This isn't. I see Amy on here who's working for Coral Gables magazine. Of course, print, works a little bit further out, but knowing with, to me right now, for Valerie, right, let's say we're still talking to that example, I'd be on Pinterest, maybe pulling some inspiration images of Thanksgiving tables that I want to use for decorating tips, or maybe I'd be pulling some Halloween ideas that aren't real life in Coral Gables. I'd pull some of those to use as kind of pictures, and, of course for Christmas too, just to have a few of those kind of pictures ready to use for some of those discussions. And then I'd, you got to walk the streets to get pictures of the houses that are out there right now that have the great ghosts. And I've been driving around and seeing some of them. So yeah, I feel like it's not even specific to a timeline. You kind of have to capture, you have to be organized, right? You have to capture the picture in the moment. If it's something you see right away, but you're not going to post it at that time, save it in your share drive, label it, or save it on your iPhone in a folder. So that you want to use this for, Motivational Monday, or if you want to use it for, weekend planning or whatnot. So it is fluid, but with those bigger holidays that we were talking about earlier, start pulling that as soon as you can, because that doesn't have to be an in the moment item, I think.
I agree with that. I think that's a really good point. For everyone else who's joining us, does anyone have any questions or comments or struggles with doing any content planning? The goal is to keep it, to make it feel attainable, meaning you can do it. It's not unattainable. But to Francesca's point, it does require being very well organized. And that means looking at content as not a secondary activity, but as saying, hey, this is our primary way of communicating to our audience. We should probably make that a important part of our daily activities, would be to, take a look at and think about how we're communicating to our community, current customers and future customers. So does anyone have any questions or thoughts or ideas they'd like to share on this? Yes, Claudia.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about direct mail?
Yeah, I like direct mail. Francesca, do you have thoughts on it?
I do. Claudia, I don't know that you joined us for the conversation that was right before this, the workshop that we had before this one. I'm not sure.
Oh, that one I missed it.
You missed that one. Okay, so my big example from it, and that's why we reached out to make sure Nick joined us to talk and asked him about his communication strategy is, and I don't see it right in front of me right now, but I had purchased from Threefold's grocery this year, right? When they switched from the restaurant to the grocery, and I got a handwritten note in the mail from Nick and Teresa a few weeks ago, thanking me for being a customer, and with a little card that says, please email us and let us know if you'd like to come to the opening of our new business, because they're opening they're opening a brewery in a few weeks. So they said, please email us if you're interested in coming. But it was a small little note card, just the logo of Threefolds Cafe. Thank you so much for supporting us during this time. And I have to say that is just it means a lot. As a consumer, I'm trying to support local and doing as much as I can on my side, right? And then to have the business on their side send that directly to me, I think it's refreshing. I think we went through a phase in communication where direct mail was God first, and everybody direct mailed you. And then we kind of went off of it and it went all digital. And now little by little, people are realizing that's another touch point again. Don't forget direct mail. And I think in the most personalized way. So if you have wonderful clients that you haven't seen in a while, write them a letter, write them a note. We missed you. Hope to see you soon. Did you know we're back with flamenco on Saturday night? Something. I know you're not doing flamenco right now, but something to say. Or Christmas. The Christmas is coming. Have you made your reservation? Because I know that's a big push for you, Claudia. So just that little bit puts you back at top of mind.
Thank you.
Syama, I think you're muted.
Nope.
Thanks. I would say I couldn't agree more. I think that is, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge fan of direct mail, whether that's a handwritten note card or a piece of, a postcard that gets sent in the mail. Honestly, it's how do you kind of stay very 360 with your audience? And some of that is literally like, looking at your customer acquisition cost, as you get a little bit further down the road, it'll be like, oh, how much should I spend to acquire that customer, right? Like that becomes the conversation. But until you actually have done marketing and you're advertising for some time, you're not going to know what your baseline customer acquisition cost is, right? So my suggestion would be to try a few different things, see how it goes. Sending a handwritten note card goes a long way with customer loyalty, even if that person doesn't come back right away. Customer loyalty is huge, right? I mean, that's everything. Amy, I noticed you kind of briefly turned your video on. Was that because you wanted to have a chat with us, or were you just gracing us with your smile?
Well, I have this groovy headset on, so.
Yeah.
It is groovy. Oh, Amy, you're in the office, I see.
I come here.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
So
Lizzie's
Amy, why
here.
don't you share with us, because I know we've chatted about it a little bit, how you guys are setting up your strategy in Coral Gables magazine and doing that with the social side. And because I know
Well,
you've
I
been
could
talking about,
say that the magazine is direct mail by
Yeah.
many measures. And it's a, cost-effective one as well, with the added benefit of having quality journalism that keeps people engaged. So there's that. But what I've seen as we've progressed into an almost all digital environment is that the magic really is in the mix. And when you pull out the other pieces of your program, when you stop direct mail, when you quit doing, the different things you were doing because you were so, you overemphasized on the metrics, you miss the bigger picture of the campaign. So when you lay out your campaign, measure the whole entirety of it. How did it work? Because the sum is greater than each of the pieces. So when you look and say, this one did this, this one did this, this one did this, it doesn't mean you get rid of all those other ones and double down on that thing that did great. Because together, everything creates, a bigger picture. And the first thing that we do is, we have so much more personally, I think, for us to do in the digital arena. But because the first thing that we do is push out all of our content.
I've seen the platform get a little bit more active with its posts on social and sharing the articles, which I think is to your
We
point.
share all the content, but then the
Yeah.
engagement on the engagement side, and we do some contests and things, but I think there's it could really be, it really is a completely different tool. So
Yeah.
pushing out the content's important, but I think that there are some other levels that we need to get to, frankly.
Well, maybe the sheet that Syama shared will help you.
Correct. That's why I'm sitting here.
Wonderful.
That's why I'm here. It's, the other thing about it is that it's a job. It's a big job, as Syama can say. It's not like, oh, look, I just do this. Like, look at, like, Valerie, your work has been tremendous. It's tremendous to see you just pop out again. You have extraordinary good taste and a good sensibility, and it comes through in every single thing you do, from, whatever, from your bangs to the way you show a house to the way you hold a pencil, just like everything, just the thoughtful way that you do everything. And then to see that come through in your Instagram has really been fun. I've enjoyed watching what you've done. It's really good. It's really, really good. But I think when we overemphasize on one thing, it's important to have the big picture.
I agree. I totally agree.
And while I have
who
this
jumped on this call who hasn't said hello to us yet is Mr. Trowbridge.
Mr. Trowbridge.
Mark, why don't you take us home?
Take you home? Aren't you already at home?
The proverbial home.
I left my bathroom door open again. I know I'm not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that.
But I do like people to be reminded that I have a private bathroom in my new office.
It's a very fancy.
Oh my God, I haven't seen Valerie come out in like 20 years.
How are you, Mark?
How's it going, Valerie?
Hanging in there.
Amy, guess what got delivered to our office about 2 hours ago?
I know, honey. So fine. It's so fine. Really exciting.
It's more exciting. Look at it.
It's
Thick.
fat.
Thick.
It's
Thick.
fat.
When I
It
talk about
smells
thick,
good.
spell it with 2 C's.
Yeah.
Anyway, how I would bring you home is the following. This has been a wonderful collaboration for the last probably 6 months, working with the city, the chamber, and the bid. And it's not new in the sense that these partners have collaborated, but it is new that we've had to do so in a time of crisis, in a time of watching, in many cases, our close friends shutter their doors. We've lost some institutions and we've lost some great friends in the process. But the one thing I will tell you is that we don't give up on our side of the equation. And all of you are exactly the same way. You're energized, you're enthusiastic. When I listen to the comments made by Claudia, I'm energized because it's not easy being out there and opening the doors every day. I feel the same way about the work that Jill has done in the retail space. And let me tell you something, Amy's very bashful, but we sold more advertising in this magazine than in the history of us doing this magazine. So that tells you that there is an appetite out there for people to want to, A, get the word out, to use the print media, especially in a localized neighborhood and community as significant and relevant as Coral Gables. And for those of you that didn't take the leap, well, Amy's going to call you in about a week and reserve your ad space for 2021, 22.
You could reserve early.
We're going to continue to do a lot of the programming that we've done as a chamber, but my favorite programming is the opportunity to bring in experts like Syama to work with all of you. I know Nick was on a little bit earlier, and I was listening in to the fact that, you know, we're not over the hump yet, but I want you to know that at least in terms of your partners, they're working better together than ever before. And I'm just really proud of our ability to bring you this content. And this is the follow-up to what we did about 2 weeks ago. So that's the added value of then being able to sort of dial in a small group and have access to experts like Syama, like Francesca, folks that are working every day in this space, and that we as the chamber and my colleague Aura as the bid have the ability to support them in that effort. So that will bring us home. We're not done yet, because I've been talking to Francesca about other opportunities. We've got some grant money potentially out there that may come back to the city, and I'm hoping we'll be able to use it in the work that we've been doing here. And I want to tell you something. Amy Donner and I had dinner a couple weeks ago, and she sold me on the idea that we need to be talking about holiday shopping right now. And do you know who did a little podcast on that on Sunday, on his Sunday book recommendations? Mitchell Kaplan. He said, let's start thinking about the holidays now. Don't wait until November or December. That's going to be there, folks. That's the runway in front of you. We're still going to do something for Small Business Saturday on November 28th. And obviously the run to, you know, the finish line in December. But how about right now making that purchase you're going to do to help our businesses that have been struggling, and be the great partner, be the neighbor, be the friend, be the, you know, be the change that helps them survive. So those are my final words from the chamber, and I'm just honored to be one of the partners.
Aw, that's beautiful, Mark. You always have such wonderful opening and closing words.
I think what we should be talking about is how beautiful your hair is.
Oh, well.
Because I showed it to Yvette. I go, Shama's hair looks amazing. But part of that is that I think your hair is 3 hours earlier than my hair, and that's why it looks so your hair is only 1:15. My hair is the full 4:15, and it's showing.
Oh, Mark, you're wonderful. It's you know, it's a real pleasure to get an opportunity to have been working with the chamber and the bid and the city for quite some years now, for a few years. I think what's been the most exciting for me has really been the adaptation of the information, the collaboration, the openness for you guys to be vulnerable about your businesses, to share, to be able to say, hey, we're in this together. We don't keep our secrets from each other. We share our secrets so we can all really benefit. And I think that is really wonderful. And I know during this time period, well, I would have loved to have been there in person. Thanks, Claudia. And have some fun and see you guys and collaborate in person, because those workshops were really fun too. You know, we've done a pretty darn good job of making this intimate and small and being able to add value. And I'm grateful at the opportunity to get to impact your businesses. And as you guys continue to have successes, I'd love for you guys to keep me posted. You know, it's wonderful to hear, Claudia, that you did get people to come in through your Instagram and Facebook ads. And, you know, I mean, things in marketing and advertising, things are never perfect. You're always iterating and moving forward. The moment it's perfect is the moment it's over, because things don't stay perfect forever. So keep iterating, keep making changes, keep working on your content. Hopefully through this template and these workshops around content development, you understand just how important of a platform and a mouthpiece it is, especially when you're doing so much great work. If no one knows about it, right? If no one knows all the things you're doing, right? How are they supposed to support that and find out about that and know, right? So that next step in broadcasting your branding, your messaging, your communication is really there to say like, hey, look at all this cool stuff I'm doing, right? Look at why you should pay attention to me. And I think you guys are all taking some tremendous steps towards that. Francesca, any parting words for our wonderful group today?
Oh, it just small but mighty today, which is great as always. Thanks for all of the collaboration. Syama, thank you for being an amazing partner. This does close out this part of our series, but we do have a separate workshop that is in a few weeks about website development. So if anybody on this call needs help with actually web development, Syama is going to be our expert there with an outside party as well, kind of taking you through the steps of developing a shoppable site. So always stay tuned for our emails and
Wait, when is
yeah.
that?
Syama, did we settle the date? Is it the 22nd?
I think it's the 22nd.
The 22nd, I believe.
Of
So
October?
yes,
Oh, so somebody could get up and running for the holidays.
exactly.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea was really born from seeing, we did the series more on like
Right.
helping with content and all of that, but what if you're one step back from that?
Right.
And you don't have the site yet that you can turn to make it shoppable, because you're not there yet. So it's a real deep dive, and we're excited for that. So
It'll be myself and a developer. So I'm going to go over kind of content strategy on the website, and then I'm going to flip it over to one of my partners who's going to do a screen share of the back end. So here's how you actually like do the darn thing, right? which is hard. It's hard
It's
to
hard.
like open it up and be like, all right, they make it seem so easy, and it's just not. They make it seem so easy. But
For some people.
yeah, looking forward to that one, Francesca.
yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, as all of them are. All right, well, thanks everyone. Great to see you.
Thank you.
now.
Namaste.
Bye.
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 Bye.